Please help me. I need to get home. When a desperate woman walked into his gas station at midnight, counting pennies, Jake had no idea who she really was. His small act of kindness cost him his job. But 1 hour later, a Rolls-Royce pulled up to his door and changed everything. Jake was a 23-year-old man who worked the night shift at Morrison's gas station. Unlike his friends who partied on weekends, Jake worked extra hours to pay his way through college. He was studying business, hoping to own his own company someday, but for now, he was happy working the night shift because he got to know all the regular customers who came through. Jake had learned about helping others from his mom, who raised him alone while working 2 jobs. Some months were so tight she'd count pennies just to put gas in their old car. Always help others when you can, she told him. You never know when you might be the one needing help. Those words stuck with Jake every single day. The gas station was right off the highway, and Jake had worked there for 3 years. He knew all the regulars, the truck drivers who needed their coffee exactly right, the nurses heading to night shifts who were always short on time, and the factory workers starting their early morning routes. Jake kept a little notebook of their stories and their kids' names, just like his mom used to do at the diner where she worked. People knew they could count on Jake, like the time old Mr. Peterson's card got declined, and Jake covered his gas until pension day, or when Mrs. Thompson's car wouldn't start at 2 a.m., and Jake helped jump-start it in the rain. He never made a big deal about these things. That's just who he was. Everything was fine until Morrison's got bought out by a big corporation last month. The new manager, Mr. Phillips, was obsessed with profits. He put up cameras everywhere and made strict rules about no discounts or help for anyone, no matter what their situation. This is a business, he kept saying, not a charity. It was almost midnight on a cold October evening when a beat-up Honda pulled into the station. Jake noticed right away that something wasn't right. The car was running on fumes, and the woman driving it looked exhausted. She was well-dressed but seemed stressed, and there was a baby sleeping in the back seat. The woman, who looked to be in her late 30s, came inside holding her wallet tightly. "Hi," she said quietly. "I need to get home to Brighton, but I only have $15. How far will that get me?" Jake checked the gas prices. $15 wouldn't even get her halfway there. "How much do you need to get home?" he asked. $25 worth, she said, her voice shaking. "But I've already tried 3 other stations. I just started this new job, and my first paycheck doesn't come until next week. I thought I had enough to get through, but..." Jake saw that same look his mom used to have when trying to figure out how to make it to payday. Without hesitation, he reached for his wallet. "Don't worry about it," he said. "I'll cover the difference." "I can't let you do that," she protested. "It's only $10. Jake smiled. "Just pay it forward when you can." Jake had just finished helping the woman with her gas when Mr. Phillips stormed out of the back office. His face was red with anger as he watched the Honda drive away. "What'd you just do?" Mr. Phillips demanded, pointing at the security cameras. "Did you just let someone underpay for gas?" "Sir, she had a baby in the car," Jake tried to explain. "She was trying to get home." "I don't care if she had 10 babies," Mr. Phillips shouted. "This isn't a charity." "Did you pay the difference yourself?" "Yes, sir. It was only $10. "That's theft of company time and services." Mr. Phillips cut him off. "You're fired. Clean out your locker and get out." 3 years of working every holiday, covering extra shifts, never being late. All gone because he helped someone in need. Jake thought about arguing but remembered his mom's other saying, "Your character shows most in how you handle unfair situations." "Okay," Jake said quietly, taking off his name tag. "But I'd do it again." Sometimes being human matters more than company policy. As Jake walked home in the cold, he wondered how he'd pay for next semester's books. But he kept thinking about that sleeping baby in the back seat, and somehow, he knew he'd made the right choice. Jake had barely been home an hour when he heard a car pull up outside his apartment. Through the window, he saw a Rolls-Royce Phantom, the kind of car you only see in movies. A tall man in an expensive suit stepped out, followed by the woman from the gas station, now dressed in business clothes that probably cost more than Jake's car. The man knocked on Jake's door. "Mr. Jacob Mitchell? I'm Robert Harrison," he said when Jake opened the door. "And I believe you met my daughter, Emily, earlier tonight." Jake's mouth went dry. Everyone knew Robert Harrison. He owned half the buildings downtown and ran one of the biggest companies in the state. Jake glanced between them, suddenly understanding why the woman had seemed so out of place in that old Honda. "Please, come in," Jake said, trying to keep his voice steady. He was very aware of his small apartment, with its second-hand furniture and college textbooks stacked in the corner. "My daughter," Mr. Harrison said, "is a successful executive who spent the last 15 years focused only on business. Recently, I realized that in pursuing success, she, like many in our family, had lost touch with real people and real struggles." Emily spoke up. "Dad made me take a 6-month leave from the company, no access to my accounts. Living on minimum wage, driving that old car. He said I needed to remember what life was like for ordinary people before I could be trusted to run the family business." Jake listened, still trying to process what was happening. His hands were shaking slightly as he offered them coffee in his chipped mugs. "That manager, Mr. Phillips," Mr. Harrison continued, "was right about one thing. Morrison's isn't a charity. That's why I bought it this evening. All 28 stations in the state." Jake nearly dropped his coffee mug. "You? What?" "Mr. Phillips has been fired," Mr. Harrison said. "And I'd like to offer you your job back, but not as a night shift worker. I want you to manage that station with a proper salary and benefits. Show me how to run a business that makes a profit while keeping its humanity." Jake sat down hard on his old couch. "I don't understand," he said. "All this because I helped with $10 of gas." Emily smiled. "No, because you helped without knowing who I was. Because you did it even though it cost you your job. That's the kind of person we need running our businesses." Within a month, Jake had doubled the station's profits while starting a program to help genuine families in need. Today, 5 years later, Jake runs all of Morrison's stations in the eastern part of the state. The Pay It Forward program has helped thousands of families, and their profits are higher than ever. Jake still works the occasional night shift just to stay connected with customers. "My mom always said to help others when you can," he tells people. Turns out, she was right about everything. Love this story? Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more.